Hello everyone, my name is Samuel Esong and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to look at Git and GitHub. So this video is beginner friendly and at the same time, it is structured the way software developers and DevOps engineers actually use Git in real world. So by the end of this video, you will understand what Git is, what GitHub is, how we install Git, how to create an account on GitHub, and finally, how we can push files from our local machine to GitHub. So because of the course of this training, everything will be practical. So if you are following along, make sure you have a laptop, a virtual machine, or your local machine. Make sure you also have a terminal. Before we start, please subscribe, like, and comment. It really helps the channel grow and also helps me to create more content like this. So let us start from something very simple. What is Git? So you can see Git as a version control system. All right. So now let me explain what this means in very simple terms. So Git helps you to track your files. Git helps you to know who changed what. Git also helps you to know when this file was changed. And if needed, Git also helps you to go back to the older version. So finally, Git helps us to collaborate with multiple people on the same project. All right. So Git was created by Linus. All right. Linus Torvalds. So Linus Torvalds is the same guy that created the Linux operating system. So at the time, Linux had thousands of contributors and they needed a way to manage code and also code changes. So this is why Git was created. So on the surface, Git is fast. All right. Git is also distributed, can be managed by multiple people. Git is reliable and it is designed for teamwork. So today, Git is the most widely used version control system in the world. So let us look at this at something we can easily relate with. All right. Let's assume you are working on a document. Let's assume you are working on a project. Okay. And at the very first instance, you can save this project as project.document. All right. After a review, you can also save this document as project final.document. If you are not satisfied with this review, you can also save it as, you can edit the document, save it as project final version 2. Version 2. All right. So let us even make this more realistic. Imagine you are in a team of 4 people. Now, you guys are working on the same project. You are working on the same project. So one person updates the file and sends it via email. Let us use email as our source of delivery. Let us use email as our source of delivery. All right. So one person updates the file and sends it via email. Another person downloads this file from the email, makes changes, and sends it back. Let us also assume that someone else edits an older version by mistake, and another person forgets to rename this file properly. So imagine the back and forth that comes with this method. All right. So email ends up flying around, and there's confusion. Someone gets to ask which is the correct one, and there's also time wastage. So time is wasted by just trying to figure out which file is the most recent or which file is the more correct one. All right. So at the end of the day, you get an overwritten work. There's confusion and there is no clear ownership. There is no history of changes. There is no easy way to go back if something breaks. So this exact problem existed in software development, and this is why version control was created, and Git solved this issue. So you can say that version control is simply a system that keeps a history of changes, allows multiple people to collaborate, prevents work from being overwritten, and also allow rollback to previous versions. So with Git, everything is tracked. All right. With Git, every change has an author. Every change also has a timestamp. All right. And every change has a reason. Timestamp, and the last one, every change has a reason. So this is why Git is mandatory knowledge for developers and DevOps engineers. And this brings us to the next section, which is GitHub. So what is GitHub? So this is where many beginners get confused. GitHub and Git are not the same thing. Git is not GitHub. All right. So you can see GitHub as a tool, you can see Git as a tool and GitHub as a platform. So Git runs on your local machine. Git runs on your local machine, and GitHub runs on the internet. So GitHub is used to host Git repositories. All right. So GitHub helps team to collaborate. So think of it like Git is the engine, and GitHub is more like the garage where the engine is stored and shared. So GitHub was originally built to host open source projects. It was also built to allow developers to collaborate globally. So today, GitHub is preferred because it has easy collaboration, all right? And with GitHub, you can also do code reviews. All right, there's also issue tracking with GitHub. And another popular integration of GitHub is the CI/CD integration. And GitHub also have a massive community behind it. So if we are to go back to our team of 4 people, if our team of 4 people is using GitHub, all right, and Git, everyone works on the same repository, everyone pulls the latest changes, everyone commits their work, and Git prevents conflict. So GitHub helps to keep things centralized. So this is how software developers, engineers, DevOps engineers, this is how their team works. So now that we've seen what Git and GitHub is, so let us see how everything lines up practically. So the very first thing we'll do is to have a GitHub account, all right? Remember that GitHub is used to host Git repositories. So to have a GitHub account, you can go to www.github.com, click on sign up if you are new to GitHub, follow the prompts. It is very easy to sign up and get your account. All right. So another tool we are going to install is Git. If you are on Windows, you can come to git-scm.com/install. Now you can select the operating systems from here. I'm going to drop all these links in the description of this video. If you're on Linux, you can simply do sudo apt install git, and Git is already Git comes installed on Debian and Ubuntu. All right. So now that we have Git installed on our system, the next thing we are going to use for visualization is VS Code, Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code is a code editor for by Microsoft. All right. It is very simple to use. So you can download the one suitable for your operating system. So now that we have these three things set up, so I'll open up my terminal and let us create a project directory. All right. So the very first thing we are going to do is to create a project directory. So first of all, we need to have this project on our local system before we can send this project out to GitHub for easy collaboration. So I'll create a new project. Let us assume this is a web project. So I will do mkdir web project. All right. Then let us switch our directory to web projects. So we'll create a new file. Let us also assume that this file is what we are going to use for this collaboration. All right. So this file is the content of this repo. Okay. So I'll create a new file. I'll say test file or test.txt. All right. So now for easy visualization, the next thing I will do is to open up my local repo in Visual Studio Code. So I will use a command for that. I can do code space dot. So we are currently opening up our local, our current working directory in Visual Studio. So you give it a minute and Visual Studio will open up. So this is what our Visual Studio Code looks like. All right. So this is the text file we added to our repository. And let us make a little edit to our text file. So I will add, my name is Samuel, and I am learning Git and GitHub. All right, so I'll save this guy. So I'll come to the view menu on my Visual Studio Code and open up a terminal. All right. So our terminal will open up for us. So this is where we can interact with this repo. So the very first thing you would want to do when you want to work with Git is to initialize your current repository. All right. So and to initialize our repository, we'll use the command git init. All right. So we've initialized empty Git repository. All right. In our web project, in our web project folder. So I'll clear this out. The next thing you want to do is to configure your identity. And to configure your identity, we use the command git config. So there are basically two ways to configure identity in Git. So the very first one is to configure your identity globally. So if you configure your identity globally, what Git does is to assume this identity for all the repositories on your local machine. So to configure this identity globally, we use the command git config -- global, then your username, all right, and I'll say Sam. Then you can repeat the same for your email. Git config -- global user.email, and I can say Sam at gmail.com. All right, so this is just to know the author of a particular change. All right, Git does not go ahead to confirm if your email address is correct or not. So another method we can use to configure your identity is to omit the global flag. So if you want to configure your identity for your current repo, so you can go with git config, absent the -- global, you can say user.name, all right, Sam, git config, user.email, Sam at gmail.com. All right, guys. For me, I love going with the second option because I love configuring my identity anytime I am working on a fresh repository. So we'll go back to our VS Code. All right. So we are going to use the one without the -- global flag. So I'll go ahead to do user.email, user.name first, Sam. All right. Now git config, user.email, all right, Sam, gmail.com. So after configuring our identity, let us assume that we are done working on this file. The next option will be to stage our file. So what exactly is staging? So staging is like a holding area where you gather and prepare changes before saving them. All right. So you can add, remove, or modify files in staging until you are ready to save these files. So to stage, I'll use the command git add. All right. The name of the file you want to stage. But if you want to stage everything in your working directory, you can specify your working directory with dots. So you hit enter. So after staging, you are now ready to commit. All right. So to commit is is you taking a snapshot of what is in staging and save it. All right. So to commit, we do git commit -m. Commit always comes with a message. All right. So this is like a reason for this change. All right. So I can say I am learning Git and GitHub. Okay. So we are done committing. So the next thing we are going to do is, if you notice, if you check our current branch, all right, if you check our current branch using git branch, you notice that we are in the master branch. So historically, Git creators choose master as the default branch name. So this has been going on for over 15 years. All right. So this was hard coded into the Git software. So I think in late 2020, major platforms like GitHub and GitLab switched their default branch to main. All right. So since we are working with GitHub, the default branch in GitHub is main. So we are going to use the command git branch -m main. So this is going to help us to switch from or to rename our master branch to name. So if I hit enter, all right, and let us do git branch again, you can confirm with me that our branch has been renamed to main branch. So let me clear this out. So we are now ready to push this file to our remote repository. So we will go back to GitHub and create a remote repository. So to create a repository, you come to your user navigation menu, click on it, and you will see repositories. So after on this page, you will want to click on new because we are creating a new repository to host our local repository. All right. So when we click on new, so we'll give it some time to load up. All right. So we will go ahead to impute our repository name. So for documentation purpose, I love to use a repository name that aligns with what we are currently working on. All right, so our local repository was named or is named web project. So I can also give it web project. All right, so on the description tab, I can just say I am using this repo to learn GitHub. So on the visibility tab, we have two types of repositories. We have the public repository and we also have the private repository. So the private is only visible to you, while the public is visible to and accessible to anybody. All right. So we are going to create a public repository. So we have the README file. The README file, you can use the README file to tell people about your repository, what your repository is all about. Now, another tab is the git ignore file. All right, so the git ignore tells Git which files Git should not track. All right, so we'll go ahead and create repository. All right, so when you are done creating the repository, the same commands we used you will also see the same commands here. So we have renamed our branch to main. So the next thing we'll do is to add remote origin. That is, add our remote repository to our local machine or our local repository. So I will copy the whole of this, git remote add origin, then the full link to our remote repository. So after adding a remote repository, we are now ready to push. So to push, we do git push -u origin, and we are pushing this guy to the main repository. So we hit enter. So if it is your first time, Git is going to prompt you to authenticate with your GitHub account. All right, so you follow the prompt and you do that. Going back to our remote repository, let us reload this page and we can see that our test.txt file on our remote repository on our local repository can be accessed remotely. So anyone can clone this repository, work on this repository, and also push to this repository. So this is how new team members start working on a project. All right? As a DevOps engineer, your infrastructure code lives in Git. Your CI/CD pipelines lives in Git, and your script lives in Git. So your team collaborates through GitHub. All right? If you don't understand Git, DevOps becomes very difficult. So this brings us to the end of this Git and GitHub session. So we've learned why GitHub exists. We've also seen the problem Git came to solve and how team members collaborate. We've also seen how to install Git and how to push and clone repositories. So to clone repository, you come down to the code button and you can access your full repository link. So to clone your repository, you can copy this repository link, open a terminal, all right? Open a terminal. If you want to clone the repository to, let's say, desktop, change directly to desktop, and we use the clone argument. So git clone the repository link. If you hit enter, your project will be cloned to desktop. So let us do ls. So this is our web project. All right, so let us seed into web project and confirm the file inside, which is a test.txt. So we can cut the contents of this file to also confirm. And we have, my name is Samuel and I'm learning Git and GitHub. So in the next video, we'll talk about Git branching and pull requests and why it is very important. So if this video helped you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. I will see you on the next one.